All right, so we've got a little hangout with team designers who are going to work on cleaning up the fonts. We've been preparing some slide decks to talk about the projects, and so yeah, we can review those and then talk about developing some kind of checklist so that when we spend sort of one day each on a family, there's sort of a checklist of what's possible to do in that day. Or 2 days, maybe. Okay, so I think I can do some screen sharing. Just a second. My tabs in order.
I'm sorry, Dave. What are we doing right now?
Sorry, I'm just putting up all of the slide decks to be able to go through them. Right, so. Oh, fuck's sake. My browser keeps crashing. Let me try again to reconnect. The audio is still good, but my browser's page is like completely frozen. So I
What
can't.
browser is it, Dave? Safari, Chrome?
Chrome. Alright, I'll reconnect.
So how is everybody?
Well, I'm back. I have a big cold and my nose is full.
Yeah,
you sound like
can
you have a
hear
cold.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Snuffles over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have lots of chamomile tea.
All right. So yeah, Thomas, if you want to talk us through this very quickly.
Oh, sure. So let's wait. Am I just going to talk and you're going to move the slides for me, or?
Yeah.
Okay. So my project, the first raisin project I was handling was raisins. Wow. I'm tired. Quicksand. So kind of as we discussed with the team last week, the ways to improve it were its spacing is consistent with the design idea of it being display. So tighten up the spacing, harmonize the X height so that the light and bold masters look the same. They feel like the same design, not the bold looking smaller compared to the lightweight. Adding a step between the light and bold master, which is going to require a little repositioning the regular in its weight scale to make the visual jump work well. Add contrast to the strokes, so you got rid of that dipped chocolate effect, especially in the bold. But I did it across all the styles, just different degrees and amounts of it. Checking points for extremas, that was a big point. That was a big issue. I was reviewing the file, and I believe, yeah, that basically covers it. And then, if you look at the other slides, Yeah, so here, for example, next one is the default. This is what is on Google Fonts right now. Next one shows a quick test run of how the spacing would work, tightened up, with some optical corrections. And the last slide shows comparison of the two. So you get a much more snappiness. Shows a quick test run of how the spacing would work. And then after that is idea of
Jack, I think that you've got another echo going on.
well, Jack's mute, so it's someone else.
Mhm.
You get a much more snappiness.
You hear me now?
And then after that is idea of
I think that you've got another echo going on.
I have
Must be good
headphone
now.
on. I
Must
have
be
a
good.
headphone on.
who doesn't have headphones on?
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Weird.
I think we all have headphones, right?
Who doesn't have headphones on?
Yeah.
Yep. Is it Kalabi?
That's better.
Yeah, it's gone now. So is it who's
Strange.
muted? Okay. Weird.
Kalapi is not allowed to speak.
Yep. Sorry, Kalabi. You're the echo man today. To conclude what I was doing, it was Jock recommended the idea of stylistic alternates in the Bauhaus school. He recommended some sources. So there's like some Cobble, some ITC, some of the Bauhaus originals, and this is some proposals of what the alternates would look like. Two-story G, two-story A, and this kind of stemless, like kind of no terminal on like the D, for example, like that kind of super geometric style. I presented this to the designer. Andrew, he liked it. He loves the direction. We got his blessing, and I started working on it yesterday. I think I showed everyone my work in progress PDF proof. I was able to get spacing, basically the improvements up to hamburger font step, like a first round of it. Everyone gave me great input to help make it better. And overall, I'm very happy with the progress I've done in one day.
Yeah. So I think that this has been really good. I think that the discussion email said like this is where things are going. Here's a link. Here's a link. Here's a link. There's a PDF. Pablo's input's been very thoughtful, and then the original designers sort of also giving them some ideas, and this is sort of like textbook, I think. And then the other thing I wanted to show you guys, that Thomas has been making these commit messages, and so you can see quite nicely, there's this history, and
I'm getting the echo again.
the other thing I wanted to
Yeah, I've been getting the echoes ever since it was not resolved for me.
Oh. I'm getting the echo again.
maybe it's me.
Yeah, I've been getting the echoes ever since
Here, let's meet Dave and let's find out.
it was not resolved for me.
Test. Still got the echo, Kalabi? Okay.
Test. Do you hear an echo?
I don't.
No, it's completely gone now.
Yeah, I do. I hear myself repeat it.
Still getting an echo.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, I do. I hear myself repeat it.
Jeez.
Oh boy.
Still getting an echo.
See. What is this? Right?
Wait. No, do you still not hear an echo? Maybe I had two windows open. Do you hear me now?
No, we hear you. Yeah.
Do you now have an echo?
No, you're good.
Now it's good, yeah.
Do you still not hear an echo? Maybe I had two windows on.
Well, now I hear in the background. Someone's definitely echoing.
What helped for me is having to check if you haven't have double the window open, so I have double conversations.
I'm good on my side. Well, now I hear in the background. Someone's definitely echoing.
Oh
What
boy.
helped for me is having to check if you have double window open. So maybe the NSA should close his window.
Yeah, should everyone just log out and log back in?
I'm good with that.
Okay, I'm gonna log out, log back in.
I'm back.
And I'm back too.
It's strange. I'm getting two Dave.
Windows. I see it too.
Yeah, I just reconnected. My browser's cached.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, it's fine now, I think.
Let's try.
No, it's gone. It started again.
Here we go again.
Let's go again.
Oh god.
There you go.
Strange.
Okay. Did it start when I came back, or no?
Nope.
It's gone. It started again. Here we go again.
Oh god.
When I came back.
Alright. Is there an echo now? You can use the chat window. Alright. Okay. So, Thomas, can you unmute?
Hi everyone.
Is anyone hearing an echo? Janice says no. Alright. Kalapi, can you unmute? You can't unmute?
Oh, he does have the echo.
Alright. Mute Thomas. Alright, Kalapi, unmute. You're unmuted. Okay. Does anyone hear the echo? Alright. Mute Thomas. Alright, Kalapi, unmute. I hear the echo. You're unmuted. Okay. Does anyone hear the echo? So now I'm going to put on my headphones again and turn the volume down. Okay, so who is now hearing an echo? Is anyone? Okay, unmute everyone.
Boom.
How about now?
Not yet.
No, that's fine. Let's go. Let's continue.
All right. Oh my god. So maybe it was a physical echo detectable by the laptop. Right. Now, where was I? So I was saying that Thomas has done a great job on the Git history. Committing his work as he's going. And so there's this log of his process, and then it's going to be super easy to make that little daily email where you can you literally just run a git log command and just get that very straightforward. So I was very happy to see that. Thomas, how much of a burden that was it? Did you use the Glyphs plugin? I'm curious about your process.
Yeah, I use the desktop option for GitHub.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually pretty nice because you can do multiple. Since I have a habit from my Thought Lab days of just saving everything, doing any major change, doing a save. It's not like every single save has to be documented. It could basically just group the savings together into one commit. So what I would normally do is, as I'm generating a proof to test the proof something, I would do a commitment statement to that. So usually for most of these, there was a proof doc produced, most of them, especially at Hamburger font step level. At adhesion, and adhesion as well. So anytime you saw adhesion or Hamburger fonts dev, in my workflow, it was just I committed whenever I produced a proof.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I wrote the notes down. What were the changes done?
Mm-hmm. But you didn't commit the proofs. I don't think that's necessary for every proof.
I did it as a batch in the end of the day. So at the end of the day, I basically place all the proofs into a documentation folder.
Got you. Yeah. Nice. Nice. Yeah, great. So there's this plugin for Glyphs which basically hooks into the save command. So as you save, you make a change, and maybe that isn't good for your workflow. Maybe the Mac GitHub client is best for you, Thomas. But I thought I'd make that.
Cool.
I think so starting on Monday, everyone's very excited on this to see this improvement. The Excite change is something that is appreciated, and with the interpolation of the new lightweight, I think that could be a little bit tricky, but I'm not too worried. I think that with the master setup, we can adjust that on the Thursday or the Friday or whatever.
I've got a question, Dave.
Yeah.
Yesterday I had a chat with Thomas.
Sure.
On the round forms looked a little bit, which could be part of the design. Clear to us how much we would be allowed to correct if necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Thomas can hang in the discussion, but
I'm sorry, it wasn't totally clear. Could you say again?
could you zoom in on on some forms of quicksand? Maybe it'd be easy. For example, an A or an O, especially in the light one. If you
Like
look
this?
well, the round forms don't look really round. They look a little bit like a tilted square.
Yeah, they have a little kind of a diamond shape. Exactly.
That could be part of the design. I'm not criticizing the form. I'm just asking. So if we would think, or in our opinion, this kind of optical squaring should be corrected, would it be a step too far in your opinion, Dave, or would that be an addition?
I'm struggling to see the squarishness that you're describing.
Look at the G, for example, like the uppercase G, just showing.
You mean in the terminals?
No. Like at 11 o'clock and at 7 o'clock, you see like it's as if just the curves have been squished a little bit. Don't you see the squares form in it?
You're meaning, Jock, that they're flat, like the curves are a little too flat.
Yeah. I'm not meaning we just opening discussion on how much we should or could or might change if necessary. Yeah, just to be.
Well, I mean, I would say that, for example, in the R, the inner curves are slightly rounded, and in the G, they're not.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that it flattens on like you said, 11 and 7 o'clock. Well put. But this is the same kind of situation as I have in Nunito. I will, if I want to improve the font, I will just have to kind of harmonize this through the whole design.
Yeah, but no. So I would say that flattening is like, yeah, it doesn't look good to me. I think that this would improve with a rounder shape, and I don't think that would fundamentally change the character of the design.
Okay.
Hey guys, can I add that the overshoots are missing on G? I just opened Thomas source files on glyphs.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the D and the E, it's also rounded inside. So yeah, that G seems a bit strange.
So on the wing question that Jacques was asking, so curve treatments can be improved, basically. That's considered a direction we can move in.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think
that
so. I mean, let's move to Jack's Pacifico deck, because I think that this, is maybe one of the decks that deals with this quite a lot. So, Jacques, please go ahead.
Well, sorry, you caught me off guard here.
Sorry.
It's okay. Now, what I noticed is that first of all, is that it looks like Pacifico is written with a pen and then digitized. So the aesthetic of those grungy outlines is part of the design. But I think if you want to make it better quality, is to just redesign those curves and make them really looking well. That was my basic idea. And in my deck, I tried to find a scope in which we could move, in which how much could we change without losing the original feeling or design. That's a narrow path to be on, and that's why I tried to explore how much one can do. And I didn't do it for all the complete alphabet. That would have been too much, and I did it in Illustrator using strokes.
Yeah.
Just to give it a general idea. Yeah. And we had some remarks from you guys on how much we should go, and if I am right, the tendency is to go to sketch A, which is actually taking Vernon's design and just make sure that every look looks superb. And I mean about outline and width. And
yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's the
So
big.
I basically, when I'm looking at this sketch A, then almost every detail is different, right? That this has been completely redrawn.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I mean, maybe the title is the same. Even that, I'm not totally sure.
Well, I haven't spent days on it, so please don't hit me, don't shoot me. But
No. Of course. I mean, so the most obvious difference to me is that the width is a little bit looser. There's a bit more space, between the O and the D, and I think that works much better.
yeah.
And the basic skeleton structure is exactly the same. In most cases, obviously the top of the A is a bit different.
Yeah, top of the A has been based on the corrected design he has put in his GitHub, which aren't publicized yet.
Right.
So I think, like a remark I made at the end, I think the design alteration he made in his new GitHub should be considered and taken within the new design, I think.
Yes, I agree. So I'm totally happy with this. With this version, then I think this with the P also works very well. So with this, you've already added a spur at the top of the P, and you've kept the outstroke of the P from the stem, and then in B you've moved that outstroke to from a returning construction like this to a broken construction, and I think that works.
Dave, if I may,
Please.
That's exactly what I was talking about the difference between writing and having a script. I think when you see the original on top, it looks like he took his ballpoint and wrote the whole thing down and then digitized it. And I think the direction of the bottom of the sketch B and sketch B is more like, what would it be? How would it look like when I design a script which should be used in automated writing like we do on the internet?
Yeah.
And yeah.
And then sketch C, for this one, then I feel like the change in the P, as well as other changes to the strokes, this feels like a different typeface to me.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, that's exactly what I tried to find. How far can you go?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy with this. On the first day to sort of sketch out the design possibilities. But I feel like we have other fonts in the collection that are much closer to this feeling, and these loopy terminals are part of what makes the Pacifico font feel like a sort of beach poster, milkshake shop sort of thing. And so this change to the P is not changing the character of the typeface that much, but these changes to the ascenders of the T and D do change the typeface. So I felt like sketch A, even though things the M is like completely different. It's much wider. It's
well, I think subtle alteration like I did on the M will amplify the quality of the typeface, because everything will be more balanced, and the strength of this design will come more in front, instead of just noticing all the optical clogging.
Yeah. So to me, if you showed me both of these, then I would say that they're both Pacifico. But then if you showed me these, then I would maybe be less sure that it was the same typeface. And then with this one, I would think that they were different typefaces.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And so to go back to the question of quicksand, then if we change this G so that here and here it's not flat, I don't think that's going to change the character of the typeface, because the character of the typeface is monolinear, geometric, rounded.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Thomas? Are you muted? Thomas?
Thomas?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Wake up.
Does that make sense, what I'm saying about like that we're trying to keep the font, the typeface the same, even if it's completely redrawn?
Yeah, I understand. That was my understanding of the brief, correct?
Yeah, yeah. So then I think Alexei, maybe we could discuss yours, which also covers the same thing. Whereas, yeah, in a very direct way on the front page, you're saying, you know, that you're gonna redraw everything.
All right, right. Yes. Yes. Okay, so about the typeface. I noticed, so it's very popular on Google Fonts, and I think it's mostly because of the wide character and language support, and because it falls in the trendy Euro-style fonts. Next slide, please. The main problems are like the inconsistency of proportions and the low quality of contours. And also, I find that the scope of weights is very limited. So can you go on the next slide? So here's an example of the light versus the semi-bold, and you can see that the proportions vary heavily. Next slide, please. So I use the FontLab's overlay function, and you can see how like the increase in width is completely disproportionate. Next one. Next one. And then there's this glyphs autopsy script that can give you the width comparisons. And here are like examples of the extreme cases. You see the red line indicates the differences between widths, which are inconsistent. In next one. And also the character set is inconsistent and missing a few glyphs. So the author told me that he started drawing with the light, and then in FontForge he applied a filter to increase the weight, and so that's how the weights were developed unsystematically. Next slide. Okay, next one. So here's an example of I was trying to work with the existing framework and make the masters compatible, and it's extremely tedious because all the glyphs need to be made compatible because the weights were not interpolated. And the way I went about it is I decided to draw from scratch because it will be much faster than redrawing every single character. I used a nice glyphs feature called offset filter and round corners. So first, this is how it works technically. I only have one master, which you've seen on the previous page. I just draw like a stroke, which you can see it's colored black, and the gray color is the offset value. And using this so this is an example of just glyphs offset filter. You can see that the corners are not rounded. And then on top of that, you can apply glyphs rounded corners filter to achieve a similar result. So here, can you go back, please? Yes. So here I'm applying a noodler. Noodler is a filter that does two things. First, it does it offsets the curves and then it rounds them. So it's like 2 in 1, and it's more advanced than the two filters combined. And next, I'm using transformation. So I'm making the metrics wider for bold using the second filter, which is a pretty neat technique. And I got some critique from Thomas and Jacques, and I revised the spacing, and it was easy. I just added 20 more units, and the spacing. So it's easy. It's very easy to edit your font project using only a single master. Of course, I realized that the bold master isn't functioning, and the bold master needs, well, the bold actually needs a separate master. It shouldn't be extrapolated using a simple offset filter. And as a nice suggestion from Thomas, that the bold style should have a larger X height. That would solve a range of problems. On this side, you can see that the four existing weights are like the difference between them is barely noticeable, especially between the light and book. So it doesn't make sense to keep them. The weights should be the weight system should be redesigned from scratch.
Yep.
So also, yeah, can you go back one slide, please? You can see that that I've done a lot of reworking to proportions, and there's a special thing about the D character because in the original design, I just used the glyph Q and flipped it, but it is inconsistent in the original design. I mean the D, B, and the Q. So that's why I have this that's why it's different.
I mean, I think that when I look at both of these, then they both look like Jura to me.
Like what?
They both look like Jura to me.
Okay, thanks. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, in Jura, the proportions are slightly wider, but I don't think that that's necessarily a good thing. That by condensing the bowl a little bit, then I think that it has a much nicer texture.
Yes, because like the extremely wide Y creates a disbalance because of all the white space on top.
Yeah.
And I'm fixing it with just making the character narrower.
But now, if I understood it well, using the same skeleton for all weights, no?
No. I'm only going to use it like for the lightweights, and for the boulder, I'm going to use another master with larger X height.
Yeah,
so I'm going to add
on the deck. On the deck.
This was the first day where I used only one master.
Exactly. Now, because I think the narrow black compared to the original one is, or bold, narrow bold is better, but I would make it a little bit more white than that. Its skeleton should be a little bit more white than of the lighter weights. Just a tad.
That's right. Right.
Yeah.
That's a good suggestion. That's right.
Because it looks now as if it's more condensed, which shouldn't happen.
Yes, that's fair. Yes, I agree.
And I've put in a remark on it, is that the round forms, like in the D or in the G and the O, are in the original design a little more flat on top and on the bottom. Aren't they too round now?
Yes, as I explained, it was because I used the glyph Q, the original Q design. It was round on top and bottom. It's a component of Q.
Yeah, but for example, when you compare the O,
yes,
lowercase o, in the original it's more like a square with round edges.
Right.
And in yours it's more like the top is round and the bottom is round and the left and right side is straight.
Right.
Wouldn't it help to put some little bit straight part in the top and bottom part of the, for example?
Yes, I could fix that. Yes.
I'm putting a question for the group.
Yes, that was my comment, Alexei, related to Jock's comment about that. Basically, the velocity of curves, right? There's
Exactly.
Now, the original's a hot mess about it, but there is a interplay of like straightness and roundness that I believe should be, you know, in my personal opinion, should be mirrored in some way, in some dimension, in a way that's like tastefully good in the revised design. So yeah, like the O is an example, or in like the PD, or like kind of these half round, half straights, like the PD, Q, and B, and the lowercase. There's a shallowness in some parts of the curves, and then a very high arch in the other. I don't think it needs to be a one-to-one, but I do think that's a design vocabulary that, you know, if I were to say what makes Jura Jura, I feel like that's probably in my assessment, if I was working on it, would be something I would try to honor in some way. Nowhere near the same degree that it did, but in some way.
That's right. Yes, I agree. I can make the design closer to the source.
Yeah, I mean, I think that with this one, I'm actually, you know, I feel like maybe the some of these details, you know, like the A, I think, you know, is much better here, even though in the original there's an asymmetry of curve velocity over the arch of the A, the neck of the A. You know, it's got a very abrupt, tight corner on the right, and then it's much smoother on the left.
But I think that was
more symmetrical.
Yeah, Dave. I think that was an unintentional decision by the designer, the A, because it doesn't. It's not followed up on any other glyphs.
Right.
So I'm doing some cleaning up work.
Yeah.
In the lines, but I agree about the velocity. I should revise it. We'll do it definitely.
And then something which is a bit you know, more radical is that sort of annoys me about the original is that there are these little uptick terminals like on the E and the G. Yeah.
And the Z.
And the Z.
Oh, the Z is real bad.
Yeah, but still, it's the flavor, so
yes.
you shouldn't shove it away quite immediately.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's sort of tricky, but maybe it could be reduced slightly. That maybe these teeth in the Z, if they were much shorter, it would help. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think like in the S here, the apertures, you know, become very tight, and you know, having like a very slight tooth on the S to keep the flavor could be good. But I feel like with design, because it is, you know, really amateur, you know, design, that you know, maybe we can be a bit more radical.
Okay. Actually, I wanted to mention something about the velocity. I was using like this glyph feature to have consistent curvature in all shapes. So, you know, there's like a tick box where you can click like 60%, like the curvature, the roundness of like the O. And to keep it consistent, I just use the same settings.
Yeah.
So
nice.
if so I could just try adjusting the settings to align with the original like velocity of curves and keep it systematical.
Yeah, well, I think you know, we can maybe update the deck and get Daniel to. But I think this is good.
Yeah, so I'll have a chat with him.
Yeah. Okay.
Because he lives 80 miles from me.
Yeah.
Can you fire up my GitHub or the last slide conclusion? Yes. Right. So next up, I'm going to revise the light master and add a bold master, and then we'll keep the total number of weights to 7. Dave, could you?
So you mean that it's just going to be 200 to 7?
Yeah, 200 to 800.
Up to 800.
Yeah,
Okay.
actually, I have revised the new weights. They're not on this slide yet. If you fire up my GitHub, you'll see the new weights. Then you go to Jura. Scroll down. Or I think it's here. Yeah. If you just scroll down, yeah. These are the new weights. So I made like a smoother like weight distribution, but I think the bold can be slightly bolder.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Did you use the Impelari family steps? Cool.
Yeah, so I will need to find a way to apply that to offsetting curves because I don't know because I'm using offset filter rather than interpolation.
Right.
So it needs to be adapted, but I will try to do it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And can you show the web specimen folder? Just click on it. Oh, so here's like a tip. You can create a folder with a web specimen inside, and then you can use like a git command, a subtree command, and it will push it to the GitHub IO. Can you click on that? Let's save this one. The font, and can you scroll the slider on top? So this is a sample web page I cloned from Wade's project. Yeah, it's the I forgot to update the CSS. It only works on my local computer, so I didn't spot this.
Okay.
So I'll just fix it. But anyway, it's like a good testing page, and with each commit, instead of making like InDesign proofs, you can test on screen or do it on top, alongside the InDesign proofs. And so I'll write. I can help like Thomas set up a similar setup.
Cool.
Yeah, I think the best thing to do is to document it,
Yeah, right.
and then people can follow your instructions.
That's right.
Yeah, please.
It
would be very
somewhere in the
nice.
briefing.
And I know that Thomas was using the similar unified font repo. I think that's good. Does everyone follow this? Guidelines?
Yeah, it's okay. I'm not that happy with it, but it's fine to start with.
All right. Okay.
I think this is something that we can develop our own. And there's also the project checklist. Is everyone familiar with this or not?
No.
Okay. So
I saw it. Yeah, I saw it. I didn't know exactly when to start introducing that.
Yeah, I mean, but there's no. I mean, next week we don't have to do this in the next couple of days. But basically, this is a very long document where I explain how to install various software.
Okay.
And then I talk about, if you're naming a new project, the kinds of considerations that are special for Google Fonts, and then how, the kinds of files that should typically be in a GitHub repo, and then how to set things up. The link to the family steps tool for setting up the weights, various things, how to set up your, license stuff, how to set up your code page if you're doing on Latin so it appears in the font list correctly, vertical metric stuff, and then, we've fixed this already, so that's good. And like links to basic OpenSite feature stuff, a little bit on testing documents, how to version and release stuff. Yeah, so that's it's I've basically just tried to fill this in as I was reviewing fonts that were coming up to completion, so that in the next round, we could sort of try and preempt those issues.
Yeah, this answers one of my questions. Partly is that are we going to do a kind of best of practice document to tell everyone who's submitting a new font that is how you should do it from now to align?
Yeah,
to align
so I'd sort of encourage you guys to contribute to this. I mean, we might just kill this repo and move all of these documents over to the main Google/fonts repo. And I think that maybe makes more sense. Yeah. Okay, so Gunnar, do you want to be next?
Yes, sounds good. So first I want to compliment everyone for their great slides and insight into their projects, and on the way I apologize for my 3-page deck.
You were probably drunk for the last 3 days, no?
Well, not just for the last 3 days, but kind of for the last 30 years. So that's my excuse.
Congratulations on winning from England, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations.
No offense
Sorry.
meant, Dave.
Thank you. And you can congratulate me next week when we win the France as well.
That would be awesome. Yeah. I think the finals will be like Iceland-Poland.
Yeah, I hope so. Iceland-Poland or Iceland-Wales. That's my hope. Anyways, so Dave, can you put on the slides again?
Yeah. Is it working?
And go back up to the other one. Okay. So basically, I'm taking on Nunito, and we've discussed this project quite a bit. It is extremely popular, and is obviously one of those fonts that is needed in the Google Font library. But we all agreed that it needs lots of modifications, and we discussed the family structure where we wanted to extend it to obliques, the light, the regular, and the bold. But I found on Vernon's GitHub that he has started a black as well, so I will use that to extend the family to 6 weights, plus adding obliques, and Dave has agreed to add another week to my project for completing that. Just like we talked about earlier with modifying the outlines, I think Nunito is going to need lots of that. And when I was looking through the files, it's, I mean, I'm not sure if this is one of the fonts that Vernon did in a week. I mean, it's pretty impressive if he did, but also some of the things, like the design decisions, kind of tell that someone didn't have enough time to completely kind of harmonize it.
Yeah.
And I think, like we discussed before, that all kind of the masters could need a reduced contrast to feel more uniform, and perhaps feel more kind of appropriate to what people would expect of a rounded neo-grotesque font family. There are also shapes in there that just need to be kind of rethought, and what I will do is to kind of make suggestions of shapes that I think will improve the kind of overall performance of the typeface, and also take shapes that I kind of can see after comparing this to other kind of known rounded neo-grotesques. I can see that some of the shapes have actually been kind of copied in a sense, with like for example, the uppercase Q is exactly like the uppercase Q in Avenir rounded, and I haven't seen it anywhere else. So we might want to kind of reconsider stuff like that.
Yeah.
I did a sketch, which basically is what I had discussed earlier, where I reduced the contrast, and I modified the proportions a little bit, and I was trying to kind of balance the weight difference between the uppercase and the lowercase as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see already with this exercise that the strokes are much more kind of uniform in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the shapes that need to be revised is the lowercase y. And you can see in the original design it's pretty kind of awkward and small and feels a little kind of misplaced. And I did a kind of a quick modification of it, and it might actually need to be revised even more, and just might actually just need some kind of a flick, kind of outstroke at the bottom, just to kind of finish the shape properly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe look at the width of your S. I think it could be a little bit wider.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Just a fraction, but still.
Okay.
Although I do like your solution of the tapering. You know, kind of how the terminals on the going, you know, on the top part and the top right of the Y. You know,
Yeah.
I like that. I like where you're going with your solution, how to solve that issue. I like that idea.
There is a little tapering also with the terminals, just to get kind of the weight into the terminals, which I thought was missing from the original design, where you kind of feel like they are tapering out instead of kind of, how do you say, maintaining the weight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
in the lowercase s you can see that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and in the E terminal. Yeah.
And I did actually like condense the S and the A a tiny little bit.
Yeah, kind of lock in. Yeah, I definitely feel like space more activated by you doing that. I like that.
But it didn't look really much like into the spacing itself. So
wouldn't you make the ink traps just a little bit more deeper?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Deeper ink traps, yeah. Okay.
When you compare the H, for example, lowercase h of the top design and the bottom design, I know it's very thin in the original one, and I don't know, it feels like a little bit full in yours. Maybe just I know,
so
10%.
In between, you mean, or?
Yeah, but more to your design. As I would maybe, let's say, 75% of your design and 25% of his. Just a little bit, a few units down, just to have this triangular form hit just a little bit more. But
yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. And then you have another project lined up.
Yeah.
oh no, he got it. Fuck.
Damn it.
So we haven't reached out to Stuart yet, so I'm going to do that today. You know, just to find out, you know, how comfortable he would be. There is a CREEPSTER Pro out there. So we talked about working on Monito, you know, for up to 4 weeks total. 2 weeks on the Roman, 2 weeks on an oblique. And so, you know, since this is out there, Google probably, you know, could negotiate with Stuart Sandler to potentially, you know, get the CREEPSTER Pro character set under the OFL. And so, you know, that could speed up the work a little bit because it's already been done, and that's an option.
I told you the outline would work.
Yeah. So this was good on suggestion.
Yeah, well, I was not familiar actually with CREEPSTER Pro. Does it have, I mean, how extensive is it compared to this one?
I think that mainly it just adds some accented glyphs. You know, that it's I don't think my fonts is going to show us, is it?
Yeah, I think you can. Click on the regular. Click on the font. Okay, go back. Click on CREEPSTER Pro here, and then you can place glyphs.
Yeah.
They show you everything it has.
Yeah, all 236 glyphs. So I'm pretty sure. You know, can you see this?
Yeah.
My font. 230. So
Okay.
to be honest with you, yeah, there's like 6 glyphs in it. So
we actually have CREEPSTER Pro, right?
well, maybe, yeah. I don't know. I need to speak to Stuart about it. I'm not 100% sure. But
Okay.
yeah,
If it's the
59K.
same, it would be pretty uncool.
What if it?
This is a little bit bigger.
If it
I'm
would
sorry,
be the
yeah.
same, if it would be the same, it would be pretty uncool to on one side offer it for free and the other side sell it for money.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think that these sell very, to be honest. And it may actually be that this exists, the Google release. It may be that the Google release was second.
Okay.
But so there we are. In any case, is asserting a trademark, and so we would need to get permission from him, you know, unless we wanted to change the name. So yeah, this is an
Google
option.
should definitely buy the trademark, right? It's a very important trademark to have.
Well, I mean, we're doing this regardless. You know, for every design, we want the original designers, you know, to be involved and be happy.
Exactly.
So this
is a pretty straightforward job in a sense, like we discussed.
Yeah.
And the first would just to be adapting the weight distribution of the symbols and the punctuation to the kind of the weight distribution of the alphabet set to the symbols, etc., like we discussed. And then if there is time, it would be nice to add some kind of a contextual features, since we already have like a difference between lower and uppercase sets, just with kind of when you have like a repetition of letters, like I'm showing there. I'm not sure how complicated that is, but I'm sure
I think it's very straightforward. Yeah.
Easiest, contextual lookup, right? And if there is time, it would be nice to set up some kind of a set of contextual alternates as well, with like even further with the most kind of common letter forms in English at least.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically it. There is not much
Yeah.
more that you need to do with this typeface, I think.
Yeah, no, I think in 1 week you can smash that. That would be great.
Any
all right,
comments
so
from you guys on CREEPSTER?
yeah,
Looks solid to me.
Yeah, no requests.
Nope, I think
We'll make an outline version.
all right then. So Kalafi.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, hi. So Alpha Slab 1. I spent most of the last 2 days working on finalizing the glyph set, because we are going to go into a sprint next week. we need to have that ready. So I did not have a lot of time to spend kind of tinkering around, but I spent the 3 hours kind of looking at what was included instead of kind of adding new stuff and trying new stuff. So yeah, AlphaSlab is based on William Thorogood's 19th century 6-line pica Egyptian, and the original font is quite quirky. And as mentioned on Jose's website, he worked on this as a graduate project, and the teacher he worked under kind of advised him to kind of make the design more contemporary. So there are lots of features that kind of, there are lots of design decisions that kind of take away from the original design. However, one of the, so the design consistency, this is one of the things that is very different from the original design. So the X on the left-hand side was designed to kind of work well on screens. When you kind of reduce the size of it, you can see that it kind of looks like a robust, even at like 12, 13, 14 points, which is what Jose had intended, and that works very well. But that was designed at least in 2011, 2012, when the screens were quite low resolution, and now we have generally high resolution screens and better rendering technology. So I think it would be one of the things I could do is to kind of bring back some of the old charm of the nice fat-faced Egyptian letterforms. That was the first thing. Unlike all of you, I have only 6 days to work on this, so I have to kind of narrow my scope down to kind of fit in as many positive design changes as I can. So these are kind of the primary fixes I have. It's the spacing and the kerning, some of the character proportions, and the general drawing quality, and then we already spoke about the design consistency. So here you can see that some of the glyphs that should kind of obviously have a symmetrical side bearing do not have symmetrical side bearing, and this is kind of across the glyph set. So I think one of the big things would be to standardize that. Also, the kerning is not very consistent, so you could kind of, so spacing and kerning, you can kind of already bring the family to a much higher usability. And then there are some letters that are originally designed a bit too wide, and I suspect that this was also for hinting and for rasterization. But I think we can kind of fix or kind of change some of those things and go back and maybe make the counters bigger and kind of play with, cheat with some of the stem widths and stuff like that to kind of make it look more equal. So as you can see in this, in the previous one, in the mask, in the previous layer is the original one, which is about 25 units wider, and it really looks quite wide when you look at it in, like, for example, in this, in the same header, in the word character, you can see the A is quite wide compared to the other letters. So there are some of those things in the capitals as well, like the H is a bit too narrow and stuff like that. So those things can be fixed. And then there are things in the original VFB which I'm sure are not do not exist in the TTF, but I need to check that. There are these overlapping nodes. So if you pull them apart, they'll kind of be they'll be like two nodes overlapping on the same coordinate. And then there are these zero handle BCPs. So those kind of, yeah.
I hope you're going to use delete zero nodes for that.
Well, yeah.
I hope you're going to use it for that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the idea, to kind of make it as kind of efficient and quick as possible, and using the glyphs, everything that glyphs has to offer. So that's kind of Yeah. That's about it. I mean, I think this is already quite a bit for 6 days because well, let's talk about the 1-day sprints in the next segment. Then I can kind of put it into perspective. But yeah, that's all.
Okay, and then so the final deck, Myung isn't with us, but I just wanted to run through this deck quickly. Before we move on, actually, does anyone have any other comments?
No.
No, looks solid to me.
Yeah. So so basically, yeah, I gave Myung the Libra Franklin that Pablo implemented on GitHub. We recently published this, earlier this month, and so she said, the accents are generally good, but they seem overwhelming, and the distance also seems a bit far. And this is good for text, but maybe not so good for display. And I think that's fine. Libra Franklin is a text type, so she's run through the process, and she's still a bit slow getting up to speed with glyphs, but I think that's gonna not be a problem. And so she, says the positioning of these accents, especially the horn, can affect the spacing. So this is an example on the left where it would need to be respaced for Vietnamese, and it's possible to adjust their position to be a little higher so that they don't affect the spacing. And so that's kind of a goal. And then this is what she would do typically in her work to rescale the diagram. So you can see here there's an acute and whatever that's called, 8 a.m. I can't think. And so she's
a brev or a circumflex.
A brev, yeah, the brev. There we go. So then she's kind of scaled them down so that together the sort of total mass is the same, but each one individually is scaled down. And normally she would do that for all the diacritics for Vietnamese, the alternative is to have them stacked up, and this is going to affect the vertical metrics. So I'm a bit shy of that.
Yeah, I have made some Vietnamese as well. What I normally did is just to take the standard accents and make them a little flat, or vertically, and change the weight a little bit. But I think that on slide 6, to me, the Vietnamese accents look really small, like tiny ants.
Yeah, probably the solution might be somewhere in between, where you shrink them and then they kind of make them shallower. There is a limit how much you can do that,
Of course, especially in boulder weights, but still, I found it a more solid solution. But
right.
But I'm not Vietnamese, so I don't know what the impact would be, and if they are used to having smaller accents. That could be as well, that we're not familiar with it. But that's for her to answer.
Yeah. I think maybe on the last slide. So she says that she always changed the size of the accents. It could affect other languages because the fonts were only used by Vietnamese people in Vietnam. It was fine. But in this case, we're making global fonts, and so that's open. So I guess she's going to come online today. We can check out this segment of the video, and I think that your guys' suggestions are good ones. Gunnar, Clappy, do you have any suggestions?
I think I was telling her that we could kind of use smart components to interpolate between different shapes and find like a good fit. I agree with what Jacques is saying for it. At least the slide before this one. Here. So for example, in the first line, last word, the acute, I always forget. No, it's
Syntax?
it's the no first line last word with the two accents on the two stacking accents on top of the A.
Brev.
The brev and the acute brev are kind of really tiny, like really squished, narrow compared to like the standalone brev.
Yeah.
I think there is possibility for a middle ground between the one on the second word, the brev on the second word, and the brev on the last word. Maybe I can, show her the smart components bit, and maybe she can kind of tweak the shapes that way and kind of find the right fit between the two. Because I think that will be an interesting automation as well for a lot of these things, rather than drawing specific sizes.
I was curious how she makes those component character accents. How she is it an outline in the character glyphs themselves, or does she add slots with combined accents? Like I put on the remark, I don't know if you read it on the Hangout, that I have looked into how other people do it. For example, some clients of mine, and what they do, they add extra accents that have no Unicode but can be used as components.
Yeah, I think so. I think that she said. Does she say?
So there are a couple of ways of going about this. The one big thing that makes Vietnamese different is that I think it's one of the only kind of standardized keyboards that use combining marks instead of the dead key input, and that makes it easier for you to for them to create arbitrary stacking, which is not required because Vietnamese, the orthography is quite quite compact and quite figured out. So all these glyphs would be included as precomposed glyphs because they have their own Unicode. So when they actually input these specific syllables, they are all accessible from the keyboard. So I think it's kind of it's mainly just stacking, and then CCMP to kind of recompose to the Unicode character. I don't know if that makes sense, but we can kind of talk about that later on as well.
Yeah, I was talking
But I know what you mean. I know what you mean because they do what you were describing. They also do. There's also that approach used for Greek diaresis where you have a separate glyph which is not Unicode and it is a diaresis and used as a mark.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Hey guys, I have to leave in about 10 minutes. Should we wrap up this call and what our next steps are?
Yeah, then maybe before I would like to. Did you see the questions I mailed you last night on the things I found out yesterday I started working on the VT323 to expand the character set and just to look at unresolved issues that we should kind of make good that might occur in every font, so we should solve them.
Did you post it on T's thread?
Sorry?
Which email did you post this on?
Well, I sent it to you by live email yesterday.
Ah.
It was in my time 1 o'clock in the morning, so it'd be
right.
like 9 o'clock at you.
Was there anything like private?
Private?
In the email, or was it like technical discussion?
Oh, I know you want me to put everything online, but well, I have to get used to that way of working because until now I have clients who were like very, very on top of being very secret on stuff. So it's for me, so for me, it's getting used to it. Anyway.
Sure.
the first question was actually if combined characters of precomposed characters already exist in fonts. Do we keep them as such, or do we? Because sometimes if you put new anchors in it, or you put anchors in it, accent would have another position. So what is the best practice here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the we would probably need to test what the current state of rendering software is like for that kind of thing.
What do you mean by
Because-
testing? For example, if I make the font has an A circumflex, it doesn't have an O circumflex. I put in all the new anchors and I generate O circumflex. The case might be that the circumflex is higher or lower, or should I then recompose A circumflex, or should I leave it as is?
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Yeah, no, I think that you should recompose it. I mean that they should be, good, and so repositioning them is certainly a part of that. Sorry, I was rather thinking about having the anchors in place but not creating the pre-composed glyph. And there's a program from Adam Tworok called TTF Diet. Let me share the screen again.
Yeah, but that's not the biggest that's not the biggest work to make the pre-composed characters, because and if but it's not I don't know, because most of the glyphs list that Kalapi and Alexi put together are pre-composed, so that's not a problem. It's just I want to know what to do with existing composed characters.
Right.
Yeah, I think you should update it as a design update if you think it needs update. If you think it does not need an update, the O circumflex, you can kind of normalize it according to the A circumflex. I think that would be the other approach.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach.
Yeah, I just wanted to be sure, because
Yeah.
I think there should be put in the document somewhere as well. Second important question is, for example, in V2 in this bitmap font I'm working on, it has math operators, box drawing, and box element, and so on, which aren't incorporated in the encodings we have yet. So my question is to keep them as such, do nothing, and just or take them out or whatever.
No, we can keep them in, because the way we are going to kind of sort the encoding is using the glyph filter lists that Alexei made out of the NAM file. So everything that's not in that list will kind of be at the end, and it will just stay there. That way it will support legacy use of that font.
Okay, good.
We don't want to kind of remove anything from there, just add. So I think that
sounds
fine. Okay.
Kalapi, sorry, I'm stepping in. Then there's a question if we have a Unicode conflict. Then we stick to the new convention as well.
If we have a Unicode conflict, we keep the old glyph, and if it needs fixing, you fix the old glyph.
Yes. Okay. We just don't add it then, and then when you export from glyph, the names
it won't
will
be added because it'll already be there, so it won't be added. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Next question by, for example, when putting the anchors in, we might have to find a kind of consensus how the anchor should be named. For example, I like adding, for example, a Sedilia anchor, which is normally hooked on the bottom anchor. because the bottom anchor doesn't always fit right to my likings. Such fine details, I think that should be like a default best practice way of working, because otherwise you have like 30 versions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the glyphs data or XML file kind of makes those decisions for us, because the anchor names the anchor names and the anchor names are kind of hard coded in that XML file. So I think the Sedia and the Ogonek are included. So if you use underscore Sedia and underscore Ogonek, it should work fine. And I think we should do that because I'm sure that in every font you'll require at least the Ogonek to be in a different position than to like where the bottom anchor would be, and kind of moving the actual glyph away from the zero width line is kind of a hackish way of doing it. So I think it's better to have different anchors for it.
Well, the Cydia isn't automatic. It's recognized by glyph, but it's not automatic. When you use Command U, the Command U line, it doesn't generate a Cydia.
Yeah, I think they want you to be as Spartan as possible with anchors, so they kind of restrict more than 2.
Yeah, because
that's
yeah. In my experience, adding a Cydia anchor makes a lot of sense, because the bottom anchor placement is different than the Cydia. But so I think those are stuff that we have find a consensus on how to use that. We will end up with 600 fonts using the same anchor names, for example. It might not be an issue when producing new stuff. Well, and other questions I found are good answered. Like Alexi said, to UPM size, add a custom parameter, scale to UPM. And on my remarks on the Karen alt, that Galati answered that it should be Karen comp.alt.
Yeah, that was a good catch.
Yeah, because that works automatically with glyphs, so with top right anchor.
Yeah. Actually, going back to the UPM thing, I mean, I actually just prefer like a straight 1000 UPM. And if you think that it's going to create more work than you have time for, or it's not going to make a big impact, then I don't feel too strongly about it. But I do think that 1000 GPM is fine.
Alex, you prefer to do it by hand?
Well, I mean, you said that you were concerned about rounding errors. That if you just scale everything back to 1000, you'll see some distortion.
I think you might, but for example, the font I'm working on now is based on the TrueType UPM, so 2048.
Yeah. So but you're going to be redrawing almost everything in Pacifico, right?
I know. I'm talking about VT323.
Yeah. So in one day, I don't think it's worth redrawing everything. But also, however, I also think that for VT3D3, the rounding errors are not such a big deal.
Yeah, but I found this problem, and I think this problem should be spoken of, because there's something that might occur a lot. That, for example, that novice designers tend to make that big failure and to put their UPM wrong. So you can do two things: you scale it back to 1000 or to 2048, or, for example, add some white take a little white away, like line spacing.
Yeah.
But I think we should find a way.
Go ahead.
I'm taking on general practice now.
Yeah.
And based on the thing I noticed while working on expanding the pixel font.
Yeah, I think the general practice should be 1,000, and where we have time to, to bring a font to that, it's fine. We don't have time, it doesn't matter too much.
Okay, can we quickly discuss one more thing?
Yes.
Okay, so sorry, Thomas.
No, it's all good.
So I finished creating the list of which glyphs have to be drawn and which glyphs are components.
Mm-hmm.
Can I screen share to just quickly share something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you guys see all of this?
Big black
Yeah.
screen.
See Dave.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There you go.
Can you see?
Yeah, I'm focusing on your screen.
Yeah, I can see it.
So I sorted all the 3 NAM files, and this is kind of the result of the sorting. So the largest number of drawn glyphs are in the plus set, but of course a lot of the existing fonts already contain a lot of the characters that are in the plus set. So when you and I checked kind of a variety of plus sets, and I came to this magic number of 150, which have already been drawn. So if you remove 150 from 215, you get kind of 65 glyphs in the plus. 65 glyphs, 45 are the accents. So the combining marks and the combining dot case. Combining case is in some cases would only be a component, but in some cases you might want to make flatter versions of the case, so they could be drawn. And then there are 14 currency symbols, and then kind of a few language support glyphs like the thorn and the engs and the eth and stuff like that. So the expanding to the plus set is not that much of a difficult task. Although when I kind of do the math, it comes out if you're doing one day sprints for kind of bringing these up to scratch. If you look at the plus set itself, and if you're doing 65 glyphs, and if you're doing kind of taking, let's say, a mean time of around 20 minutes a glyph. I know some may require much less and some may require more, so I'm kind of using a 20-minute thing as the design thing. That means that 65 glyphs would kind of need 21 hours, which is ridiculous, because after that we still need to kind of run the process the fonts, do the OpenType stuff, and do the hinting, generate the fonts, check the fonts, and all of that stuff. Also do the anchor positioning and make the components, which is completely different. So I was wondering, and this is only for the plus, so I was wondering how do we kind of divide our time?
It sounds to me like we're going to need 2 days.
Yeah.
Master.
Yeah.
Right, because even if it's plus, if it's 65 glyphs to draw, then that's like 10 minutes each, and then that's like 6.5 hours or something.
Yeah. And of course, in this case, Nyung is doing the Vietnamese. So the Vietnamese is like a separate block, which is separate, which she would be working with. So that would not be included in the first developer's time,
right.
Which would also kind of create a conflict in which the font would be actually generated on the second day anyway, because you can only do that after she adds the stuff, right?
Yes.
So it will have to be a 2-day sprint.
Yes.
So I was thinking maybe on the first day, you could divide the day into 2 halves. So we kind of check each other's work in the second half. Maybe, I don't know how we would want to do that, but that would be a good idea to kind of ensure some sense of consistency and quality. Otherwise, the sprints will just end up with the same kind of quality fonts, but with a larger language support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know what all of you think, but this is kind of what.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds very realistic. I was a little afraid that it would be something like this, actually. Because like we discussed it before, we had kind of, how do you say, hoped for some kind of an automation taking care of most of the work, and it's just in reality much more hard labor than we expected.
Yeah, and even our time estimates before, that was only working on extending character set. That's not including drawing. Like I believe the character set, it's including symbols and currency and all that. That was not even estimated in our time frame. At least when we were discussing on Friday the estimated time frame for a sprint. So I think it's realistic if you're going to do drawing too, in addition to extended Latin, to make it a 2-day instead of a 1-day.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we should not also take into account that some fonts have incomplete glyph sets.
Yeah.
I mean, so that the sort of core set of 220 glyphs, which has 150 drawn, there's very few exceptions to that, and where there are exceptions, it's just 1 or 2 glyphs.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, mostly I think there are more than 220 where people have kind of added a few more to. So we kind of have that going in our favor, but not it doesn't take
Not
us
by
very
much.
far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so I think that there's sort of 2 things. So the first thing is that we could that these aren't completely pinned down yet. So we could actually redefine the plus set to be smaller, and start pruning out anything that has to be drawn, which isn't essential, and shifting that up to the pro.
Yeah.
So that's an option. So the second thing is I want to share my screen again.
Yeah.
So let me figure this out. Is it working?
Yeah.
Okay. And so on the spreadsheet here, on the schedule, so we've got all the presentations, so that's really good. And I'm going to reach out to Stuart about that. I'm also going to reach out to Joe Prince for Maven Pro, and to the font stage guys in Mexico about Action 1. I think that's quite their font. And then I've started to fill out the Cyrillic stuff that Alexi's working on. So I'm going to go down this list and find families that have Cyrillic and then move them up to this section and work with Alexi on this. And then on GitHub there are there's about 200 issues which have got bugs reported with fonts. And so I'm going to highlight those because we should be working to fix those bugs. That's also one of the goals that I have for the 3 months. And then potentially, as we get a more standardized process, then Flavio or others, can contribute on a voluntary basis. And then the engineers have asked me to, or ask us to look into the file size impact. If we take CREEPSTER and we add these glyphs, what's the file size impact going to be? And then the engineers are keen to get one family through this sort of 1 or 2 day process ASAP, sort of end to end, so that we find any process problems and we can iterate from there. So that was sort of some of the action items, next steps to take in the next couple of days. And then going further down the list, there's a bunch of families where the designers have provided updates for me to push out. And then there's all of the families that potentially we could work on with 1 day of work, although maybe that has to be reduced now. And then there's all of this stuff which we need to work on at some point, but there's just no time to do in the next few months.
Yeah.
And then there's at the bottom there's the list of stuff that we potentially could offboard. So that's sort of the general rankings, and then we've got these sort of next action check marks. So where we've allocated a person, we've decided what glyph set it is, we've reached out, we have a deck explaining what's up, we have the files on GitHub. So I think we need to sort of pin down a few more columns for these kind of waypoints, and then on the right we have a time chart with a column for every day over the next few months. And so I've color-coded these in these weeks, and I've marked the Wednesday, which is the production push day, where potentially we can push updates up. And we're still figuring out how much time the engineering team will be able to allocate to making these pushes, because they've got a lot going on, and it may not be possible to make a push every week. Nevertheless, so we've sort of allocated time the last few days, for sort of working on these things. That was yesterday as well, we need to figure out what families we're going to be working on next week. That's not clear to me still. And then I've allocated this time. So Thomas is going to work 3 weeks on Quicksand.
That's correct. Yes.
Una is going to work 2 weeks on the Nito and potentially a 3rd week on CREEPSTER. Otherwise, maybe that will be something else, or potentially the starting work on the Nito's obliques. And then Alexi's going to work on Jura for 2 weeks, and then he's going to work on Laura Cyrillic.
Yeah, right.
And then Kalapi's going to work 3 days a week on cleanup work, and then 2 days a week on the Raisin project, which is just one for 6 days. And then Jack's going to work on Pacifico for the 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then we haven't figured out exactly what how Young's time is going to be spent. So having said that, so there's a bunch of stuff that I have to work on just to prepare to get pushed out, and then we get the whole thing sort of laid out over the 4 weeks here. And so I sort of said like one person per family per day, as just to have something to discuss with the managerial team, and that it would be a sort of 2-day process where one of you 4 would be working on it, and then Young would follow up with the Vietnamese. And based on her deck, she estimated that she could do around 4 masters per day. Now, obviously, this is very ambitious, and it looks like there's just no way that we could make this number happen. A lot of these families have multiple masters. Merryweather's certainly 4, if not more, because it's Roman and Italic for full set of weights. So yeah, that's a lot. And I mean, some of these, I think Merryweather may already support Vietnamese, so then maybe it's going to be faster. But this is the kind of scheduled daily plan that we need to figure out, and we have today and tomorrow to pin this down. So if this is going to be 2 days and it's going to look more like this.
Actually, Dave, it would be kg, NN kg, because I work on the fixes, then she works on Vietnamese, and then I work on shipping it out. So it would be kind of in that vein.
And are you going to work some time on shipping out every font?
I was thinking that I'd spend some time tomorrow actually doing one and seeing what tools I can use to automate that, and if I can have like existing tools to automate that, and if those tools are kind of easily structured, easily kind of stackable, I can kind of do a tutorial first thing on Monday, and then everybody can just follow those steps for shipping the fonts.
Yeah, and I think that's so. Potentially, I would say that we add a new sheet, and then this is like cleanup checklist, and then it's like delete, run, delete stray nodes script.
Yeah.
That Alexi mentioned, and then delete small kerning,
Yeah.
Then it's like the production step. So licensing is set up, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, we need to get this time chart figured out. Because on Monday I need to review this with Omar, and so currently the way that this was laid out over the time frame was that we got down to row 140. So we from sort of row 54. So we covered 85, 90 families with that process, and then with doing something similar to this, where we were covering 6 families. Then in 3 cycles we'd have around 15 to 18 families, and so we'd end up with around 100 families being touched over the sort of 3-month period. And so, yeah, if we wanted to cover everything in the collection that we're not going to offboard, then we would need to hire you guys for the whole year next year, looking at that same rate. And it seems that if we reduce, if we say that we're actually going to need more time, then that's going to cut down the number of families that we can do in this sprint at that rate. And so, next year we're going to need a bigger team. But that's the kind of that's the data that we need to pin down today and tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to push the files, because this is just the document I showed you is just a markdown README. There are supporting again .nam files which contain the subset of the other NAM files, so you can kind of use them to do whatever.
So, what is it for the other guys on the team? What can we do to help you out today then with this objective?
Well, so basically, for the first week we have these 4 families: Oswald, Railway, Merryweather, Yanoni, Kaffisatz. Or we could pick any 4. It does. I mean, these are very popular families, so. Maybe they deserve more than 1 day of cleanup or whatever. But basically, we need to figure out what it is that we're going to do with the time available. And that, we talked about having it like 50-50. That was Omar's request. We have now 25-75 expansions versus raisins. And so we may need to, set it back to 50-50. If we're going to spend 2 days rather than one. Omar indicated that if we can say we've touched 100 families in the 3 months, that's that sounds kind of it sounds good. And if we say we've touched 50 families in the 3 months, then that doesn't sound as good to as a number. But if that's what it is, that's what it is. But we do need to figure out who is going to work on what and when on a day-by-day basis, and what is going to happen in that 1 or 2 days, in the next 48 hours. And so, as a team, we need to figure that out.
I mean, for me personally, I have no preferences for the production run. What faces to work on? If you want to work from top down and just rotate through the team, each one gets a 1. I think the question I would have is, what is the process? Do I do a fork in a GitHub? Do the same process I'm doing with the raisins, for example, or is there a separate process we need to do for that?
No, I mean this is the process. So basically, next week, if we were following this process, then we would be needing to get 20 families, GitHub locations, and designer permissions. And basically, that's why we need to pin this down today, because then we have 3 days, for the weekend as well, to do that reach out and get that sorted. And so then, I think that that's kind of the waypoints that we have. That up here we assign a person, we assign a glyph set, we send an email to reach out. Probably we don't have a slide deck. We just have an email that says this is what we're thinking of doing. Standard glyph set extension, no spacing changes, no design changes, and then we get their source files on GitHub, and basically, just get the stuff into GitHub. Get the stuff from BFB into glyphs. There's a script which a FontLab export script which does that.
Yeah.
And then re-export it, and that would be like the first iteration. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think
I think we definitely need. I think we definitely need like at least the way it looks on the chart right now, 2 days for me and then 1 day for Nuke. So it is kind of, it would end up being 3 days.
Yeah, but adding Vietnamese shouldn't take a day.
It's a quarter day.
Yeah.
I think at least you've assigned typefaces to each of us, right? So what we can do for a start is to kind of clear individually the typefaces we've been allocated, what kind of set we think it needs, and draft up some kind of emails to the designers. That's something we could do today and tomorrow, right?
Well, so hang on a sec. I mean, I've just put this in as sort of a placeholder, so it's very, very clear to everyone what it is that we need to get to. So Pablo is, very happy for us to collaborate. He's got a lot of fonts, and so if I just go and then obviously Vernon as well. So if I just go down this list, today, I'm just going to mark them with an X. So so this is one, this is one, this is one. This actually, PT Serif shouldn't be there at all because it's Paratype's kind of owned one. So,
well, Dave, unfortunately, I need to run, but
okay,
is it fair to say, can we trust that you'll assign the team, each individual member, which production phase they're working on? You'll either send the email to approach them to get their source files, or we can do it.
So what I'm suggesting is that we work with Vernon and Pablo's families. That we needed 4 families, and so boom, I've just got 4 families: Oswald, Railway, Lobster, Dosis. And so Dosis and Railway are quite big families. I think those are both Roman only, but they've got a set, at least 2 masters. Oswald has only got 3 weights, but it's also 2 masters, and obviously Lobster is a single style. So Pablo's stuff is on GitHub. It should be in glyphs if it's not already. Pablo's happy for us to be to jump and move ahead, and so we need to figure out what that process is. So we have this cleanup checklist, and so we need to start listing out the things that we need to do. And then have minimum time, maximum time, and then we need to figure out how long it's going to take to do it, just minimum cleanup.
Okay.
How's everyone else fixed of time? Do we need, it's been 2 hours, so I'm guessing we all need a break.
I mean,
Thomas,
I'm happy to continue.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to run. So, Dave, if you need to contact me, let me know what I can do to help with that. Okay.
Okay. When will you be available later today?
I have a call in like 10 minutes, so probably at 10, 11, at 11, 12. That's when I can talk again. If you need to talk to me personally.
Let's catch up at midday. That sounds good.
All right, it's fine. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, take care.
Bye bye.
Okay. How about everyone else?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, I have some stuff to do this afternoon, so I wouldn't want to stay too long now.
Okay. So I think probably same situation then for you, Jack, as Thomas. What you need from me is to say, here's the GitHub. Spend a one day on this project, and then come up with your process checklist for what you will do in 1 day on a project or in 2 days on a project.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll continue to finishing this pixel font VT3. I hate the name, by the way. It's really awful to speak out. Anyway, I've done the most preparation part. I have to draw some glyphs, and then I can automatically compose the stuff.
Yeah.
But if I encounter more questions, I will post them.
Yeah, on the email list, on the discussion list, please.
Okay. Then I wish you a good day, and I'll hang up as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
See you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so Jacques is sorted. Thomas. Yeah, I mean, potentially, I think, the work that he started to do on Quicksand is not going to be sort of shippable within 1 day. So we're going to need to give Thomas a new family for this, and then. I think that probably makes sense for everyone, right? That actually a 1 day iteration on those existing raisins families isn't really going to be useful because it's going to be doing stuff out of order.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we can pick single style families to be to simplify things a bit.
For the raisins or for the others?
The others, because this is the expansions week is on starting Monday. We need to be churning on stuff, so we've got 48 hours to figure out what we're going to be doing on Monday morning.
Yeah. I'm happy to do lobster.
Okay.
So Railway has 6 masters.
They got italics as well?
Yeah, with the italics.
Ah, okay.
It's 18 styles all in all.
Yeah.
And 6 masters.
It is. I forgot about the italics. Okay, and it's font lab sources, not glyphs.
Yeah.
One second.
Sure.
Okay. No, that's fine.
So yeah, let's try and find some of these single styles.
What about Abril fat face? But then we have to talk to
Yeah,
together.
no, it's these are only Vernon and Pablo's.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Okay, so while I'm doing this, can you guys go down this column for today, where I've marked them as an X? Can you just double check and replace it? Can you replace this with the number of styles currently in Google Fonts?
Yeah.
All right, I think that's fine. Okay, I'm just going to reorder everything. So marmalade is okay. So I'm going to pull out the numbers. Can you input them? Hello.
Yeah.
So lines 77 to 89. If I just call out the numbers, you can just tap them in.
Yeah.
So trochee is 1, cabin sketch is 2, 6 caps is 1, cutive is 1, mako is 1, metrophobic is 1, Bradley is 2, petty petty formal script is 1, Anaheim is 1, Geo is 2, Sand Creek is 1, Norican is 1, Stardo Stencil is 2, no, we missed some. Cabin sketch was 2. Alright, let's
Excuse me.
reorder them again. Right. So anything with 2 we can take out. And then I'm going to sort these by their total usage, which is in hidden column B. And so then, yeah, so Francois 1, Anton, and Pontano Sands.
I can do Anton.
Hmm? Which would you like? No.
Francois 1, that's fine. I mean, I can do that.
Do Trocky. Do 6 caps as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, yeah, it's fine to go from the top.
Okay.
So Jack's working on VTU 3D3, so I guess Thomas can take lobster. Where's he gone? So. Okay. Cool. So these were all things that were considered for next week anyway, so that's good. So I guess our goal is that, yeah, today that we're going to be able to, or in the next 24 hours, we could say, we're going to get them ready for Young to work on. So then let's have a look at the GitHub links. So Francois 1. So you hear me?
Yeah.
And then lobster. Good. Maybe we can just add entire in there as well, just in case.
And this selection is based on the fact that we want to start testing the process immediately, right?
Yeah.
But the next kind of batch of selection is going to be more systematic, right, regarding to what the library needs.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're going to go top down on usage, but we need to, reach out to a bunch of different designers. So Vernon and Pablo are sort of, kind of core team in previous years and are very friendly, and so we can just move forwards immediately.
Yeah.
So who did we assign to each of these? And then
Are we assigning all of the ones? All of the ones?
No, just 4. Just 4.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, so that's all done. Okay, so yeah, I think that's it, right? So we filled in all of the columns that we have so far. For rows 53 to 53 to 56. So I'm going to move them up to the top. Then our lines 22 to 25. And so, yeah, I think we need another call, tomorrow morning. So in about 21 and a half hours, where we have this cleanup checklist, sort of concrete.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any other questions?
So in this production step cleanup checklist, why are we adding all the metadata like the GitHub link and the project homepage?
Well, because this is sort of a temporary spreadsheet. I'm going to add all of this stuff into here as columns.
Okay.
But this is just going to be simpler to work on if we don't have all the columns all in one place.
Okay.
Immediately.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. All right. I'll end the call.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.